Yo, 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 fancy community, welcome to Proper Things, the FPL show brought to you by the TTFSL. And wow, oh wow, what a game week 4 we had. It was pain and more pain. And especially for the non-Holland owners who collect a crispy 26 points from the Holland owners who went to the captaincy for the Norwegian striker. I mean, you were lucky to make it back to 26 even if you didn't have Holland in your team. It was that rough out there. So all those who didn't have Holland, I feel your pain. All those who did have Holland and still couldn't cross that 50 mark barrier, it was rough out there. Your boy only made 41 points personally. So it was a tough week for myself as well. But have no fear, game week 5 is almost here. So you have a shot at redemption this upcoming week. So maybe, you can just rock back, watch some Champions League football if your team playing Champions League, maybe some Europa, maybe some conference, if you want to go down there on a Thursday. And, you chill out, you get away from it for a few days, and then you come back in time for game week 5. So without further ado, let's take a look at how your boy Michael's team did the final boss in game week 4. So, like I said, it was a lot of pain this week, and your boy didn't escape the wash of that pain. As you can see, the final boss could only return 41 points. And kicking things off with Henderson. If I were on wildcard right now, Henderson would be the first player to go. He's been an absolute disappointment this season, especially looking at Sanchez returning 15 points for Chelsea, Onana with 13 as well, although he's a little more expensive than Henderson. You're just looking at the keeper points and premiums like Raya just absolutely demolishing his price tag with 29 points this season, and Henderson just scraping another 1-pointer. So it's been very, very difficult and very disappointing from Henderson, the Crystal Palace shotstopper. In defense, it was a welcome return from Lewis Hall. Although he didn't return, we needed those 2 points. It wasn't much better from the other starters, as we could see Robinson only returned 2 points after Fulham conceded a goal in the 95th minute to just sting the Fulham defense across the board. Konza with a 1-pointer, and Vardiol coming off the bench for the second half could only return 1 point. He had a nice chance there that he created for Silvinho, but Salvio just couldn't score the goal, so he just returned the 1 point. Moving up into midfield, it wasn't much better or easier on the eyes. As we could see, Eze couldn't return his heroics from game week 3, as he could only return 2 points. Salah blanked as well, 2 points. Jota was mere seconds away from a 3-point return, but he walked a little fast to come off the pitch, and that 3 points quickly turned into 1. And those who had Luis Diaz, of course, got the 3 points as the clean sheet was on at the point of the substitution. And then Rodgers blanking, as Aston Villa did score 3 goals, but Rodgers, just couldn't square that ball for the tap-in from Ollie Watkins. So he returned 2 points as well. In the attack, Isak, 45 minutes, possible eye injury. We don't know if he'll be ready for game week 5. So 45 minutes, no returns, 1 point from the Swedish striker. And finally, it was Erling Haaland carrying the team, making more than 50% or half the points of the team by himself. A massive 26 out of the 41 points from the Norwegian striker, just carrying us to a smaller red arrow than we would have gotten if we didn't have him. I know a lot of people who didn't have him struggled to get back to 26 points. So although you had 10 free hits, as you could say, on the non-Holland owners, it still was tough to even get points this game week. So as you can clearly see, the 41 points this game week, resulting in a red arrow. We moved from just outside the million mark. Now we doubling that now to the 2,145,213 rank in the world right now. The only upside of this is that we still have that coveted wildcard in our back pocket, and we still have the triple captain. So all those who has already cashed in the triple captainship and the wildcard should be ahead of me, but with those 2 assets in my back pocket, when I do decide to play them, I should be moving up the table. So still have a little time to right the wrongs and to move up this table. Now, coming off that 41-pointer in game week 4, there are a few red flags and concerns in the team. The top 3/4 concerns right now that have to be answered before we go into that deadline for game week 5 is the injury to Isak. Will he or won't he play? The injury to João Pedro. What happened in Brazil? The guy was good leaving to go and play in South America. He came back, he was supposed to be ready. All of a sudden, this mystery injury popping up. So we don't know what's going on with João Pedro. The Jota, is he a minutes risk, especially since he gets the start versus Milan in the UEFA Champions League? If you see Diaz will be coming off the bench, if he does come off the bench. And finally, Vardio, is Rico Lewis eating into his timeshare, and will he start in the Champions League? So those are the 4 red flags in the team right now, 2 injury concerns and 2 minutes risk. I don't think Vardio is an urgent transfer this game week unless I'm on wildcard. So I'll put him at 4 because the other 3 seems to be priority 1. So since João Pedro and Isak are strikers, I think these are, well, the best options to address these problems. And I'm giving you 4 strikers that I think could come into the team for game week 5 and do the business for you if Isak and João Pedro can't answer the call come this weekend. First of all, you have to look at the 13-point return from Ollie Watkins in game week 4. I know there's still a little minutes risk, and at the time of recording, he just came off at the 59th minute mark for Duran, one of the hottest strikers in town, and we're seeing now that he's icing the ankle. Maybe it's precautionary, maybe it's not, but definitely one to keep an eye on. But with Aston Villa having Wolves, Ipswich, and Manchester United in the next 3 games, Ollie Watkins is definitely one to keep on the radar, especially if you're looking to move from Isak and have a little 0.5 in the bank, as Ollie Watkins could prove the guy that you need to return the big points. So Ollie Watkins at the top of the checklist if you're looking to move on from Isak. Now, if the problem is João Pedro, like myself, if you bring in João Pedro for game week 4, you didn't get a point, you're wondering what to do, you don't really have money to go up for a premium like a Watkins, who could be on your radar? This game week, we're seeing a lot of movement for one Jamie Vardy coming at 5.7 million. The 3 next fixtures for Jamie are Everton, Arsenal, and Bournemouth. Of course, that Arsenal fixture in game week 6 is going to be a little tricky, but Jamie Vardy of old, and we're talking about before they got relegated and coming back up, loved to play against Arsenal. Of course, there was a different Arsenal then than now, and a different Jamie Vardy. But if nostalgia rings true, I don't think the game week 6 could be a problem for Vardy. But that's just strictly on nostalgia. Looking at Everton and Bournemouth, either side of the Arsenal fixture, those are games that Jamie Vardy could return. We all know his prowess when he gets the chances. He's the guy who has the record for the goals in the most consecutive Premier League games. So 5.7 million with Leicester's schedule, and with his form going into these fixtures, I think Jamie Vardy could be a shrewd buy. At 3, is not really a pick that I fancy, but there are a lot of movement from managers for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, so I have to mention him from Everton coming at 5.9 million. While I don't really fancy Dominic Calvert-Lewin personally, I have to mention him because there are a lot of managers moving, and if you're one who just wants to stay within the template or within your position before making a drastic move, maybe Dominic Calvert-Lewin falls into that game style. With Leicester, Crystal Palace, and Newcastle on the horizon, it's not bad matchups, but I just feel that Dominic Calvert-Lewin could be one of those strikers where a day late and a dollar short. You missed the boat when he returned those points versus Aston Villa, and I don't think he could get that right now. If you do have him, of course, you keep him. I don't think he's the striker that you want to rush into. And finally, it's a guy that I recommended last game week, and Nico Jackson returning here at 7.6 million. I mean, Chelsea failed to flatter in game week 4. It was a tough 1-0 victory that they had to dig out versus the Cherries. They were lucky to do it. As some say, as Evan Nielsen should have just given Clive the penalty to bury, and that could have changed the entire game script. But you never know. So Nico Jackson coming at 7.6 million. I know there's a lot of people wondering if he'll retain his spot in the starting lineup with Nkunku pushing now to come back. You know, as the majority sell Nkunku and he plays in game week 4 off the bench and he scores. Now you're wondering if he will come back into the starting lineup. We also saw Jadon Sancho sighting. He was the man of the match for his 45 minutes. We don't know if Neto Madueke is still in the starting 11. And of course, Cole Palmer is Cole Palmer. Some of those questions will be answered on Thursday when Chelsea are in European action. So you can look out to see who gets the minutes in that game to help you decide. But Nico Jackson is definitely on my radar, especially if you think you're going to start. If he's going to start with West Ham, Brighton and Nottingham Forest in the next 3 fixtures. Next up on the red flags list, of course, was Jota. And Jota is strictly a menace risk warning here because we're seeing that he's going to start versus Milan. He played this past weekend versus Nottingham Forest and he won the loss. But we don't know what Ancelotti is going to do this upcoming weekend, especially with some options on the bench. We're seeing Diaz coming off the bench in Europe. Darwin yet to start a game for Liverpool this season. And of course, Keisa is ramping up his fitness. So it's definitely a little panic station for Jota owners. And if you're looking to move away from Jota, if you're set in the striking department and you just want to make a move to cover your tracks, these are the 3 midfielders I think could be the best options. Firstly, it's a lateral move from Liverpool to Liverpool in Luis Diaz coming at 7.7 million. I mean, I don't really like lateral moves, but if you look at Liverpool's schedule of the Cherries, Wolves, and Crystal Palace in the next 3, it's green ceiling, as they say. 7.7 million, the values do almost match up, and we're seeing that Luis Diaz is in phenomenal form. He's one of the top scoring fantasy players this season. So there's no problem in Luis Diaz not being in form right now. Second on the list is Bryan Mbeumo at 7.1 million with Tottenham, West Ham, and Wolves in the next 3. Of course, we know Mbeumo has the penalties, so there's not a problem there with who's going to take the penalties as Tony has left for Saudi Arabia. However, his strike partner in Visa looked to suffer an injury that is going to keep him out of action for an extended period of time. So we don't know how the team chemistry or how Brentford is going to look going forward. I don't think this will have a drastic impact on Mbeumo, but we do have time to see what could happen to Mbeumo when they do play Tottenham, as I don't think that might be the game you want to bring Mbeumo in. But with West Ham and Wolves in the next 2, you definitely have to have Mbeumo on your watch list and keep him in mind going forward. And finally, my cheeky pick, if you're looking to replace Jota, could be Jarrod Bowen of West Ham coming at 7.5 million. They do have Chelsea, Brentford, and Ipswich in the next 3. I know when you see Chelsea, you're going to say, well, they just kept a clean sheet versus Bournemouth. But you could see, if you're looking at the Chelsea games, that they could be got at defensively. And Jarrod Bowen has been in phenomenal form this season. Goal and 2 assists so far in the first 4 game weeks. I think that West Ham are going to start playing a little better. Again, Chelsea could be got at defensively. And with Ipswich in game week 6, and on game week 7, and Brentford in game week 6, I think there could be points on the table for Bowen. So you could move for Bowen ahead of the Chelsea game, get ahead of the curve, and get some points. I do think that Jota is a huge menace risk. We don't know what's going to happen in the Milan game, but if you have the ability to move on from Jota, I think this could be the week to strike and to get a player that's more locked in heading into game week 5. And now with all these possible solutions, and a lot of people will be asking which move I'm leaning towards. And right now, if Isak is not playing, I'll definitely be looking to move him into Watkins. If João Pedro is not playing, I will not be able to move João Pedro directly into Watkins. So I'll definitely be choosing between Vardy and Nico Jackson. And finally, the Jota to Luis Diaz looks like the best move to just stay within the Liverpool fixtures, as Luis Diaz has been playing phenomenal football. And like I said, the wild card is still on the table, especially if another injury mounts due to European or Cup football. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on those encounters to see how my players go. But definitely keeping the wild card as a big option for Game Week 5. Yes, I just want to say a huge congratulations to Dari 868 by Darius Ragunath and Andre Beaumont, just in time, for being the joint manager of the month for August 2024 of the TTFSL Pro-League. There's a lot of action there, but Andre and Dari, us just proved to be better than all the rest of managers in the month of August. So congratulations to those 2 guys. I hope to see more from you all in September, and maybe you all could keep up the steam and go all the way come May for the race for the 10K. So congratulations again to the manager of the month, both Darius and of course Andre. Congratulations again. And now the last piece of business is, if you already have your team lined up, you might have a dilemma on who to put the armband on. Well, have no fear, Captaincy Corner is here. And last game week, it was a straightforward Captaincy Corner. As I said, if you had the Norwegian hitman, just put the armband on him. And those who did that, you rejoice with your 26 points. And a game week that was lean on points, Haaland just, saved a lot of fantasy teams. In this game week, it's a little different story, as Manchester City do tackle Arsenal, the two best teams in the Premier League, and Arsenal have one of the leanest and toughest defenses in the entire club footballing world. So Haaland will not be the number one captaincy option. However, there are a lot of pitfalls in Captaincy Corner this week, so I'll explain. The number one pick for the Captaincy Corner this week is Mo Salah of Liverpool. And now the little caveat here is Mo Salah now going to be a minutes risk coming into this weekend versus the Cherries? We're seeing that he's playing a lot of football. Played versus Nottingham Forest, is starting at the time of recording versus Milan, and then with the game this upcoming weekend. I do back the Egyptian King to start and to return, but it's definitely one to keep an eye on. So if you could get a little room, a little lead starting lineup, definitely take those to see if the King starts. But he is the best captaincy option at the time of recording here on Tuesday. In second position, it's Iceman Cole Palmer. I do back Chelsea to bounce back versus West Ham this game week. I expect Cole Palmer to bounce back in a big way. We were mostly seeing a James Sancho sighting. We were mostly seeing the plaudits for Nkunku getting the goal-winning goal versus the Cherries, So we don't know which starting lineup is going to come out there for Chelsea, as Maresca has a lot of options, but I do believe Cole Palmer is as locked in as he's not going to feature in Europe in midweek. So he comes in at number 2. I know it's a tough fixture for Erling Haaland versus Arsenal, but the guy who's coming off the back of 9 goals in 4 games, hatty breeze, can't move further down than 3rd. So if you have Erling Haaland in your team, you can't really just discredit the Norwegian hitman, but he comes in at number 3 this game week. At number 4, there's another pitfall here. At the time of recording, we're just seeing Ollie Watkins come off just before the 60th minute mark versus the Young Boys in the Champions League, and we're seeing that he's icing one of his ankles. So we don't know if it's a injury or it's just a precaution, so definitely want to keep an eye on a brace and a slight minutes risk, as we're seeing Duran now push to get big minutes for Aston Villa. He's in big form. I think that he has a great fixture this upcoming game week, and he has the form Aston Villa is going to keep on playing better as the season goes on. And then the cheeky ball captaincy. At the time of recording, again, we're seeing Diaz is benched, coming off the bench for Liverpool versus Milan. I think he could prove to be a shrewd captaincy pick. He's one of the top scoring players in the entire FPL season thus far. Has the fixture and is playing for Liverpool and has the form. I think he could be a cheeky ball play, especially in a week with a lot of pitfalls. You don't know if Salah is in minutes rest. Haaland, a tough fixture. Cole Palmer, not really performing game week 4, but I expect him to bounce back in game week 5. And Ollie Watkins with a slight little knock, could be real, could be precautionary. So the cheeky ball this week, Luis Diaz. Also keep a keen eye on Gakpo against Milan to see how he goes. If he plays well tonight, maybe he gets his start in the upcoming weekend here, with Jota also starting versus Milan. So it could be a little shift in the Liverpool starting lineup. And that concludes Captaincy Corner, the game week 5. And now that brings us to the end of this episode of Proper Things. I want to thank everyone for listening to me for this episode. I know it's very humid today in Trinidad. The sun is just sparking the skin. I want to say thanks for all the support. So while you're listening, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and you can leave a little comment whether you agree with the picks. You don't agree with the picks, you say, boy, Mike, what's going on? So far in game week 4, I have big game week 4. So you have alternatives for me in game week 5. I welcome all and every comment. Again, thanks for the support. Thanks for all the managers who joined the TTFSL Premier League Fantasy and all those who joined the UEFA Champions League Fantasy. Hope you all have a great week. All those who didn't have a good game week 4, hope you all bounce back in a big way in game week 5. Best of luck. And don't forget to do proper things in all walks of life. I'll see you all next week.